I looked at my wife, and I didn't recognize her. Anna stood in the middle of our living room, holding my bank statement in shaking hands. Her face was pale as the walls, and the paper rustled between her fingers. When she looked up, her eyes were a mix of fury and fear. She silently handed me the page, and my stomach dropped. A list of transfers, same amount, same recipient, regular payments. It all started on an ordinary Tuesday. I came home from work around 7, exhausted after a long meeting. The project was behind schedule, clients were angry, and the pressure was unbearable. All I wanted was dinner, a few minutes with my daughter, and sleep. Just a normal day, before everything fell apart 10 minutes later. When I unlocked the door, the apartment didn't greet me with the smell of dinner or the sound of laughter, only silence. The hallway light was dim. Something fell off. I took off my shoes, hung my jacket, and listened. From the kids' room came the quiet rhythm of my daughter's breathing. She was asleep already. Strange, she usually stayed up until 9. Anna was standing in the living room, her back perfectly straight, shoulders tense. She was holding a piece of paper. Even without seeing her face, I felt something was wrong. The air itself felt charged, like before a storm. When I called her name, she turned sharply. Her eyes were red, her expression furious and hurt. She threw the paper at me. It landed at my feet. I picked it up. My bank statement. The one I had hidden in my desk drawer. Transfers every week. $200, $300, sometimes more. Always to the same person. Initials, EV. 2 months of payments. Thousands of dollars. Anna's voice was calm, too calm. "What is this?" she asked. I knew that tone, the calm before the storm. I said it was work-related, just company expenses, and the accounting team would reimburse me. She laughed, a harsh, broken sound. "Do you really think I'm that stupid?" Then she started yelling. She said she'd been digging through my desk for 2 hours, looking for tax papers, and found this instead, that I'd been hiding it from her, that she had a right to know where our money was going. Anna had always been strong-willed, but tonight she was someone else. Her voice kept rising, breaking, filled with pain. She screamed that she was pregnant, that we were saving for a crib for a family vacation. And here I was, secretly sending money to God knows who. I tried to calm her down, told her she shouldn't get worked up in her condition. That stress was bad for the baby. That was a mistake. She exploded. "Don't you dare use my pregnancy to manipulate me," she shouted. Her face turned red, a vein pulsing at her temple. I was terrified for her, for the baby, but I couldn't tell her the truth. Not like this. I told her it was personal, that I was helping a colleague going through a rough time, that it was temporary. She demanded details. Who? Why? What for? Why the secrecy? Every lie I said just dug me deeper. Finally, she said, "Show me your phone. Right now." I refused, said it was private. She laughed again, bitterly. "If you have nothing to hide, why not show it?" That's how Olga caught her husband cheating, with the messages. I felt trapped between a wife who had every right to be angry and a promise I'd made to someone whose life depended on my silence. I tried to hug Anna, to tell her I loved her, that this was a misunderstanding. She shoved me away, yelling, "Don't touch me with your lying hands." Then she locked herself in the bedroom. I sat on the couch, facing my hands. How had things gotten this bad? I should have told her everything from the start, but I was afraid of her reaction, afraid she'd panic, afraid it would hurt the baby. My phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from that same number, the one I'd been sending money to. I didn't call back. Not tonight. Tomorrow, I told myself, I'd explain everything. Calmly, carefully. But deep down, I knew Anna wouldn't rest until she knew the truth. And the truth was something I didn't know how to say. It was stupid, but I got angry. She had every right to be mad at me. But taking our fight to other people, talking about me behind my back, that felt like a line crossed. Anna laughed and said Olivia wasn't other people. She was her best friend from college, the only one supporting her right now, unlike me, her lying husband. Then she pressed on. She found the number for Evie in my contacts, just the initials, no name, which to her was proof I was hiding someone's identity. Honest men don't need to encrypt their lives, she said. I kept my mouth shut. Anything I said would make it worse. She told me to call that woman. Right now, on speaker. I refused, said it was complicated, and she had to trust me. The look she gave me was pure contempt. Coward. A real man wouldn't hide behind excuses. You have 24 hours. Tell me the truth, or I'll find it myself. And when I do, there won't be forgiveness or second chances. I'll leave and take the kids. The bedroom door slammed so hard our daughter woke up crying. I went to her room, held her, hummed until she fell asleep, then stepped onto the balcony and lit a cigarette, my first in 3 years. The cold spring air stung my lungs. I stared at the city lights and thought about what an idiot I was. I wanted to protect everyone, and I destroyed my wife's trust instead. My phone buzzed. A text from my younger brother, Kirill. We need to meet. Urgent. I told him it was a bad time. He pushed, said it couldn't wait. I sighed and agreed to see him tomorrow evening at the bar near his place. The last thing I needed was my brother's drama. The next day at work, I was useless. Igor tried a few times to talk. I brushed him off. At lunch, I sat alone, staring into a bowl of cold soup, while my thoughts ricocheted between Anna, my promise, and impossible choices ahead. I knew I couldn't hide the truth any longer, but saying out loud felt just as impossible. That night, I showed up early at the bar. Whiskey, 1 shot, then another, heat in my chest, no clarity in my head. Kirill arrived 20 minutes late, disheveled, red-eyed. He ordered a beer and rolled the glass between his hands in silence before blurting everything out. Debts, pressure, needing money now. I asked, how much and for what? He stalled. Said it didn't matter, just that he was in a bad spot. I looked at him and understood. Gambling. Again. He'd always been reckless. Bets in school, cards in college, then online casinos and sports books. Our parents had no idea. I found out a couple years ago, and he swore he'd stopped. Even went to a few meetings. Clearly, he'd relapsed. I told him I had problems of my own and couldn't help. He begged for 10 grand. Said people were threatening him. Anger flared. My little brother wanted cash for gambling debts, while for the last 2 months I've been taking on loans to help someone else, someone I couldn't tell my wife about. Do you know about Mom? I asked. Kirill paled, looked away, and nodded. Rage tightened in my chest. He knew. He'd known. And instead of helping, he'd been losing money online. When did you find out? About 6 weeks ago, he muttered. She told me not to tell you. Said you had your own family, your own problems. I threw a bill on the bar and walked out without saying goodbye. Night air, drizzle, cold, back home. Anna's voice was no warmer. She said Olivia knew someone who could pull full info from a phone number, name, address, everything. Tomorrow I'll have it all, she said. If you won't talk, I'll do it myself. And when I do, our marriage is over. Trust doesn't survive this. I asked her not to do it. My voice sounded small, pathetic. Do you have anything to say? She asked. I shook my head. She walked past me and locked the bedroom door. I lay on the couch in the dark, the only sound the ticking clock. Tick, tock, countdown to the end. I didn't sleep. At 5 a.m., I made a choice. Today I'd tell her everything. Better she hear it from me than a stranger, even if she hated me for the silence. But morning changed the plan. Anna woke early, called her mom to take our daughter for the day, then told me, flat cold, that she was going to see Evie in person. She had the address. She wanted to look this woman in the eye. Panic. I tried to stop her, said it was insane to barge into a stranger's home. If you don't want me going alone, she said, come with me, since you know the way so well. I thought she was bluffing, until she pulled out her phone, opened the map, and showed me a pin, a real address. I tried to stop her until the last second, reminded her of the baby, of the stress. She stared at me with a cold, steady resolve. I'm thinking about the baby. I won't raise a child with a liar. I need the truth. We rode the elevator in silence. She drove. I usually did. GPS led us to an old neighborhood on the edge of town. Tired apartment blocks, peeling playgrounds, sun-bleached garages. I knew this place. I'd grown up here. My mom still lived in the same building. Anna had been here for a couple of family visits years ago. Lately we saw my mom at our place or in cafes. We parked beside a familiar entrance. Anna killed the engine and looked at me. Know this area well? I nodded. My mom lives here. Her brows pulled together. What does your mom have to do with this? I didn't answer. I got out of the car. She followed, muttering about lies and manipulation. We climbed to the third floor. I stopped at a door, not my mother's, the one across the hall. Evie, Elena Viktorovna. Ms. Elena, the neighbor I'd called Aunt Lena as a kid. A widowed, retired nurse. Kind, steady. The person I went to 2 months ago when I learned about my mother's diagnosis. Anna frowned. Why are we at a stranger's place if your mother lives opposite? I rang the bell. Footsteps padded over carpet. The door opened. Ms. Elena stood there, gray hair tucked under a scarf, tired eyes, a pharmacy bag in hand. Her smile was thin, but real. I greeted her and introduced Anna as my wife. She nodded and invited us in. I shook my head. Just checking in. How is everything? Stable, she said. Today's a good day. Almost no pain. I felt Anna stiffen beside me, trying to piece it together. Ms. Elena apologized. She had to run. Her patient was waiting on medication. Anna snapped, "What patient?" Ms. Elena glanced at me. I gave a small nod. She sighed. "I'm caring for someone across the hall. It's advanced. Oncology. Because of your husband's help, we can afford proper pain relief." Anna went white. "Who is sick?" Another look to me. I barely shook my head. "I can't share details," Ms. Elena said gently. "Confidential." She excused herself and closed the door. Silence in the hallway. Anna stared at me, eyes wide, thoughts clicking into place. In a whisper, "My mother?" I didn't speak. I didn't need to. She leaned against the wall and began to cry, real, shaking sobs. I held her, and this time she didn't push me away. She clung to me and cried out weeks of fear and anger. I stroked her back, my own throat tight. Relief that the truth was finally surfacing. grief that my mom was dying, guilt for the pain I'd caused Anna. After a minute, she pulled back, wiped her face, and said she wanted to see her mother-in-law. I warned her. Chemo had changed her. She nodded, took my hand, and together we crossed the landing to my mom's door. I pulled out my spare keys and unlocked the door. Inside, the air was thick, medicine antiseptic, and something heavy, the smell of sickness. Mom was lying on the living room couch, thin, pale, cheeks hollow, dark shadows under her eyes. A scarf covered her head. The chemo had taken her hair. When she heard our steps, she turned her head, tried to sit up, but she didn't have the strength. Anna gasped and covered her mouth. I could see her fighting the tears. Mom smiled faintly. "You'll have to forgive me for not getting up," she said in a hoarse whisper. "I've gotten lazy lately." Anna knelt beside her and took her hand. "How long has it been like this?" 8 months, Mom said quietly. At first I ignored the signs. Then it got worse. Her tone was calm, too calm, like she was talking about someone else's illness. She said she didn't want to upset her sons, that I had my own family and problems, that Kirill was a mess already, and that she lived a good life. "I'm ready for whatever comes," she said simply. Anna listened and cried, and Mom squeezed her hand, comforting her. Then Mom looked at me. "How did you find out?" I told her that 2 months ago I'd shown up without calling, wanted to surprise her with groceries. I'd found her on the bathroom floor after a seizure, unable to move from the pain. I called an ambulance, and at the hospital, they told me everything. She sighed. "You weren't supposed to know. I wanted to go quietly. No burdens, no drama." I shook my head. "That's nonsense. Family is supposed to carry things together." I explained how I'd asked Ms. Elena to help pay for medicine and care, and kept it secret because Mom had made me promise not to tell anyone, not even my wife. Anna looked at me, and I saw everything in her eyes at once. Guilt, shame, love, heartbreak. "I'm horrible," she whispered. "I accuse you of cheating. I treated you like a monster. I don't deserve you." I held her. "You had every right to be angry. I did act like a liar. Anyone would have thought the same." Mom chuckled weakly. "You're both fools," she said. "Secrets ruin families. You should have talked to each other from the start." Then she motioned for Anna to sit closer and gently touched her belly. "How's the pregnancy?" she asked softly. Anna smiled through tears. "Better. The sickness is gone. We're expecting a boy." Mom's face lit up. "Then I just have to hold on until he's born." The words hung in the air like a weight. Anna started crying again, and I turned to the window so they wouldn't see my eyes. Outside, the same gray courtyard, the old swing set where I used to play as a kid. I thought about how unfair life could be. Mom had been strong all her life, hard-working, kind. She raised us alone after Dad died, worked 2 jobs, skipped meals so we have enough. And now she lay there, fading, still worrying about everyone but herself. Anna asked what the doctors had said. Mom smiled faintly. "Officially, 3 to 4 months. But that was 5 months ago. So who knows?" She said the pain was under control now, that Ms. Elena was wonderful, that she did want to die in a hospital surrounded by strangers and white walls. "At home, I can breathe," she said, "and I'm ready for whatever happens." I couldn't take it anymore. I turned and walked out of the room. I walked out of the room, into the kitchen, turned on the tap, and filled a glass with water, drank it in one gulp. My hands were shaking. My chest burned. From the living room, I could hear their quiet voices, Two women talking softly, gently. I leaned on the windowsill and closed my eyes, trying to steady my breathing, but it didn't work. Too much had built up inside me. Too many weeks of silence, fear, and guilt. After a few minutes, Anna came in. She walked up behind me, wrapped her arms around my waist, and rested her forehead against my back. She whispered that she was ashamed of how she'd treated me, how she'd accused me of betrayal, threatened divorce, screamed, cried, blamed. That whole time, she said through tears, you were trying to protect your family from pain, and I made it worse. I turned around and held her. It's okay, I told her. You didn't know. You're not to blame. But she kept going, saying she couldn't stop replaying all those awful words in her head, the insults, the suspicion, the way she dragged our private fights into other people's conversations. You were keeping a promise to a dying person, she whispered, and I treated you like a liar. I brushed her hair back and told her it was over now, that we'd get through this. When we went back to the living room, Mom was asleep. We left quietly. In the stairwell, Anna asked, "What do we do now?" "Keep helping," I said. "Pay for care, medicine, be there. That's all we can do." She nodded. "Then I'll help too. She's not just your mother anymore. She's my family too." Outside, she handed me the car keys. "Better if you drive," she said softly. I started the engine but didn't move, just stared ahead. The secret was out, but somehow the weight felt even heavier. The truth didn't bring relief, only sadness. The drive home was silent. Stoplights, crosswalks, familiar streets. Everything felt unreal, like we were trapped in a dream we couldn't wake from. A tear slid down Anna's cheek as she stared out the window. I reached over and took her hand. She squeezed mine back. No words were needed. When we got home, our daughter ran into my arms, laughing, chattering about her day. Anna and I exchanged a tired smile. Life went on, and for her, for our little girl, we had to keep it that way. That evening we ate together, macaroni and cheese, her favorite. We laughed where we could, pretended everything was normal. Later, when she was asleep, Anna and I sat on the couch in the quiet living room. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I wrapped an arm around her. We didn't speak, just breathed together. The same fears, the same guilt, the same grief. Her skin was warm under my hand, a reminder that, despite everything, we were still here. Together. She asked if Kirill knew. I told her about the night at the bar, about his gambling relapse, about how he knew Mom was sick but hadn't helped. Anna shook her head. "Your brother's irresponsible, but this isn't the time to judge. We need to face this as a family." I nodded, though the thought of talking to Kirill again made my stomach turn. That night, she slept beside me for the first time in days. A small victory in all this chaos. But I couldn't sleep, just stared at the ceiling, thinking about Mom, about how little time was left. Money could buy medicine, maybe comfort, but not miracles. Stage 4. We all knew what that meant. Anna woke up and asked what I was thinking. I told her the truth, that I felt helpless, that I wanted to fix it, but didn't know how. She held me close and said, "Then we'll fight together. There are new treatments, new trials. We won't give up." Her words didn't make me believe in miracles, but they reminded me I wasn't alone. The next morning, we called Kirill. I said we needed to meet and talk about Mom. He hesitated, voice quiet and guilty, but agreed to come that evening. Anna insisted on joining me. "This is family now," she said. The day dragged by. At work, I moved on autopilot, signing papers, answering questions, barely hearing a word. When Igor, my co-worker, asked again if everything was okay, I finally told him the truth. Briefly, quietly, he squeezed my shoulder. If you need anything, money, time, anything, I've got you. I nearly broke right there. That evening, Anna and I met Kirill at a small cafe near home. She fidgeted with a napkin while we waited. I took her hand. He arrived late, wrinkled shirt, tired face. Sat down without a word. We let him gather himself. Finally, he spoke. Apologized. Said he'd relapsed into gambling 3 months ago. At first, he'd won, then lost everything. Now he owed money. Serious people. Anna's tone was sharp. And while your mother's dying, you're gambling? He flinched but didn't fight back. I could see he hated himself enough already. I told them both that blame wouldn't save her. We needed action. Anna suggested finding a private clinic, maybe abroad. I explained what the doctors had said. Stage 4, metastases everywhere. Surgery wasn't possible. Chemo could only slow it down. Even foreign treatment would cost millions, money we didn't have. Kirill said he'd read about experimental treatments, immunotherapy, targeted therapy, cases where people had lived longer. Anna grabbed her laptop and started searching right there at the table, watching them, desperate, hopeful. I realized it didn't matter how small the odds were. 1 chance in 100 was still a chance. We agreed to visit Mom together the next day, talk openly, get her medical records, and start calling clinics. Kirill promised to quit gambling, to go back to meetings, to take another job if needed. Anna said her parents would help too, whatever they could afford. When we left the cafe, night had fallen. Kirill went one way, we the other. Anna took my arm, and we walked in silence through the buzzing city. Laughter, headlights, people rushing past. The world kept moving, but for us, time had slowed into grief. At home, our daughter was asleep. Anna's mother had babysat again. We ate a quiet dinner. Then Anna buried herself in research, scrolling through pages of clinics, treatments, costs. When I checked in 2 hours later, she turned her screen toward me. Clinics in Israel, Germany, Switzerland. Numbers that made my head spin. Millions just for diagnostics, even more for treatment. She said we could sell the country house we bought last year. I nodded. Whatever it takes. The next morning, we went to Mom's together. Anna, Kirill, and me. Ms. Elena opened the door, said it had been a rough night. The pain was bad. We stepped quietly into the living room. Mom was pale, eyes closed, breathing shallowly. When she saw us, she smiled. Kirill sat beside her, took her hand, and whispered an apology for not being there. She stroked his hair. I know, she said softly. I understand. He started crying, and for the first time in years, I saw my little brother completely broken. Anna wiped her own tears. I clenched my jaw, fighting mine. We told Mom about our plan. Clinics, treatments, anything to buy time. She shook her head. Don't waste your lives on me. You have families, children. I've had my time. Anna's voice was firm. No, this isn't just your decision. You don't get to give up. You're going to meet your grandson. You're going to see Masha start school. Mom looked at her, surprised, maybe even moved. I asked her to show us the documents. She pointed to the cabinet. We opened it. Folders, scans, hospital reports. Stage 4 ovarian cancer. Metastases in the liver, lungs, lymph nodes. Chemo was barely helping. The prognosis, 3 to 6 months. Kirill asked why she'd waited so long to see a doctor. She said she thought it was just age, fatigue, took painkillers, kept working until it was too late. Anna hugged her. "No more looking back," she said. "We'll focus on what's ahead." Mom cried quietly, thanked us, said she didn't deserve such children. Inside, something broke in me. This woman, the strongest person I'd ever known, had given everything, and now I couldn't save her. Ms. Elena brought tea. We drank in silence. Then we took the medical files and promised to get second opinions. Mom asked us again not to spend everything on her. We promised nothing, only that we'd try. When we left, she waved from the couch. Her smile was soft, tired, and full of goodbye. In the car, no one spoke. Anna flipped through the documents, frowning. Kirill stared out the window. I focused on the road. Anything to keep my mind from shattering. That evening, after dropping Kirill off, Anna dove back into her research. I started calling every clinic I could find. Everywhere I heard the same thing: long wait lists, high costs, no guarantees. Then my phone rang. Sergey, a friend who worked at a private oncology center. His tone told me everything before he even spoke. He said he'd reviewed the files, that the case was severe, advanced, and that even the best treatments offered only a sliver of hope. Immunotherapy, targeted therapy, possible, yes, but unpredictable and painfully expensive. At best, Sergey said, it might buy a few months. I asked him straight, "Is it worth trying?" He went quiet, then answered, "If it were my mother, I'd try. Even a small chance is better than none. There are rare cases of long remission at stage 4. Rare, but real. It's your call. Just know it's expensive, brutal, and there are no guarantees." I thanked him for his honesty. He gave me contacts for a few specialists who handle hard cases and asked me to tell my mom he was rooting for her. I sat in the kitchen with my face in my hands. Anna came up behind me and wrapped her arms around me. She'd heard enough to understand. We didn't talk for a while. Then we started doing the math. Our savings, possible loans, selling the country place, help from family, all together, about 1.5 million rubles, enough for diagnostics at a top clinic and maybe the first round. But a full course would cost several times more. Anna suggested applying to charities and trying a fundraiser online. I nodded, even though the idea of asking strangers for money felt humiliating. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I ran through options: a loan against our apartment, too risky with 2 kids; selling the car, we needed it for work and family; asking friends who could lend that much, no strings attached. In the dark, Anna spoke. She couldn't sleep either. She had an idea. Her dad had an old friend, a businessman who'd done well and now funded medical cases. We could try him. Won't you feel awkward asking? I asked. When it's about a life, she said, awkward doesn't matter. The next day was logistics. Anna called her father for the contact. He warned meetings were hard to get, but gave the number. Anna called, explained everything to the assistant, and left details. They promised to call back. I booked 3 consultations at different clinics. Everyone wanted original documents and an in-person exam. Moving my mom around would be hard, but we didn't have a choice. That evening we held a family council. Me, Anna, my brother Kirill, and Anna's parents. We sent our daughter for a sleepover. She adored her friend, and it kept her away from grown-up problems. I laid it all out: diagnosis, prognosis, options, money. Anna's father, Viktor Petrovich, listened, then asked for the total. About 3 million. I said, He whistled softly. We don't have that, but we can give 1.3. Their car savings. Anna's mom, Ludmilla, wiped her eyes and said they'd give everything they had. Kirill said he'd taken a second job, night shifts loading freight, and could put 40 to 50K a month toward Mom's treatment. He'd quit gambling, deleted the apps, blocked the casino sites. Anna looked at him with a new kind of respect. We calculated. The sum was reachable, but time wasn't on our side. Cancer wasn't waiting. Victor suggested taking a large loan and paying it back together. I nodded. Sensible, even if the interest rate scared me. Ludmilla asked if Mom knew the whole family was in and ready to help. I said yes, and that she was against it. She didn't want to be a burden. Ludmilla shook her head. I'll go tomorrow and talk to her, woman to woman. The meeting ran late. Anna's parents left. Kirill walked home to clear his head. Anna lay on the couch with her head in my lap. We sat in the quiet, only the clock ticking. She asked if I was afraid of losing my mother. Yes, I said, terrified. She's been my anchor since Dad died. I'm not ready to say goodbye. Anna said she understood. She'd lost her grandmother 5 years ago and still missed her. Death is always unfair, she said, but we'll fight to the end. That's our duty, our love. I kissed the top of her head and thanked her for staying, for forgiving my secrecy, for being my partner in this. The next day, the assistant called back. Mr. Mikhail Alexandrovich could meet us tomorrow morning downtown. Any time suited me. Ludmilla visited my mom and came back with red eyes and a new resolve. She's afraid of being a burden, she said. Afraid we'll end up in debt. I told her money is just paper. Family is what matters. We're all in. Mom cried, thanked her, said she didn't deserve it. Ludmilla hugged her. You deserve even more. You raised 2 sons alone. You're strong. Don't give up. In the end, Mom agreed to try treatment. Even a tiny chance was still a chance. That evening I drove Mom to consultations. The first doctor, an older man with kind eyes, studied the scans and examined her carefully. Very difficult, he said, but not hopeless. New drugs are showing results in this cancer type. Combination therapy, chemo plus immunotherapy, could extend life and improve quality. No guarantees. It's long and hard. How much? I asked. $2.5 million, he said. Full course, meds, infusions, monitoring. It was just barely within reach. The second consultation, the next day, said much the same. The third was the bluntest. At this stage, treatment will be mostly palliative, aimed at time and comfort. Don't expect a cure, he said, but you might gain a year or 2. All agreed, start combined therapy as soon as possible. We talked it over, me, Anna, Kirill, and Mom. We would try. The meeting with Mikhail Alexandrovich took place on the 23rd floor of a glass tower. He was in his 50s, silver at the temples, eyes that missed nothing. I told him the facts, diagnosis, timeline, plan, cost. He scanned the documents, asked a few precise questions, then asked why I'd come to him instead of the bank. I will take a loan, I said, but the interest is brutal. I'm hoping for a no-interest bridge. Anything to start treatment now. He smiled. You're not the first. I've supported cases like this for 10 years, but I have a rule. I help people who truly need it and who are helping themselves. I don't just hand out money. I get involved. If I help, it's a partnership. I told him I'd sell the country place, take loans, work 2 jobs, whatever it took. We just needed a start, so we wouldn't lose time. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. I'll give you an answer in 2 days. I need to verify the details and consult my team. 2 days felt like forever. At work, I made mistakes. Igor fixed my numbers and didn't comment. At home, I forgot what I'd said 5 minutes earlier. Anna understood. Our daughter sensed attention and climbed into my lap at every chance. I visited Mom daily, read her favorite books out loud. She weakened by the day. Ms. Elena kept saying, "We have to start soon." I kept saying, "Soon? I promise. Soon." On the evening of day 2, my phone rang. Mikhail Alexandrovich. Even voice. All business. I reviewed everything, spoke to doctors, and checked your documents. He said, "I'm willing to help. I'll donate 1 million rubles directly to the clinic for your mother's treatment. The rest you'll need to raise yourselves. But this should buy you time." I couldn't believe it. 1 million from a stranger. I tried to thank him. My voice shook. He stopped me. "No thanks needed. This is why I do what I do. I believe you'll handle the rest. I wish your mother strength." I hung up and broke down in the kitchen. The first time I'd let myself cry since all this began. Anna ran into the kitchen, terrified, thinking something terrible had happened. I hugged her and, through tears, told her about the call. She cried too, and we stood there in the middle of the kitchen, holding each other, laughing and crying at the same time. I immediately called the clinic and arranged to start the treatment. The doctor said he could admit my mother the day after tomorrow. She would need to stay for several days for preparation and the first procedures. I agreed. Then I called Kirill and told him the news. He was so happy that I heard him sob over phone. We decided to visit Mom together the next morning and tell her. When we arrived, she was sitting in her chair, wrapped in a blanket, sipping tea. She smiled when she saw us. We sat next to her, and I told her that the treatment would begin the day after tomorrow, that the clinic was good, the doctor experienced, and that there was hope. She listened silently, then asked where the money had come from. I didn't go into details, only said that we found a sponsor, a charitable fund. Tears quietly rolled down her wrinkled cheeks. She said she didn't know how to thank us, that we were her salvation. Kirill hugged her. I took her hand. We sat there together, realizing this was a turning point. Despair had finally given way to hope. Fragile, uncertain, but still hope. Elena Viktorovna said she would go to the clinic with us, that she had already spoken with the staff and arranged to stay nearby and help. I was deeply grateful. She had become almost family to us over those months. On the day of hospitalization, the whole family went to the clinic. Anna with little Masha, Kirill, Anna's parents. Mom was nervous but brave. They showed her to a bright, clean room with a big window. The nurse helped her change. The doctor came in and explained the treatment plan. Several days of preparation, tests, IVs, then chemotherapy, 3 courses, combined with immunotherapy, using a new drug that strengthens the immune system and helps fight tumors. The process would take about 3 to 4 months. Side effects were likely, but they would manage them. Mom asked if it would hurt. The doctor said honestly that there might be discomfort, but all pain would be controlled with medication. What mattered most was a positive mindset and belief in recovery. Mom smiled and said she already had the best medicine, her family. We stayed with her for a few hours. Masha drew pictures for her, promising to bring more. Anna's mother brought homemade pie. Mom ate a small piece and smiled. Kirill told funny stories from work to make her laugh. I just sat beside her, holding her hand. When we were leaving, Mom asked me to stay for a moment. When everyone else went out, She took my hand and looked into my eyes. She said she was proud of me, that I had become a real man, a loving son, husband, and father, and that she was happy to see the family I'd built. "If something goes wrong," she whispered, "don't blame yourself. I've lived a good life. I have no regrets." I begged her not to talk like that, said she would recover, that everything would be fine. She smiled sadly, nodded, but her eyes said what she couldn't. She wasn't sure she would survive, but she tried to stay strong for us. That evening, I told Ann about the conversation. She hugged me and said Mom just wanted to prepare herself, to say goodbye in case things didn't work out. "That's normal," she said softly. "We just have to believe." The next weeks felt like a marathon. Every day, one of us went to the clinic. Me after work, Anna in the afternoon, Kirill in the evening. We brought food, flowers, books, tried to keep her spirits up. Chemotherapy took its toll. She lost weight, her hair, her color, but she didn't give up. The doctor said she was strong, that her body was fighting, that the tumor was shrinking, metastases slowing down. It was the first good news in months. Kirill had changed. He worked 2 jobs, spent every free minute with Mom, hadn't gambled for a month. He said her illness had made him realize what mattered, that he'd wasted too much time before. We grew closer again, brothers like before. Anna still struggled with guilt. At night, she'd cry and apologize for how she'd acted in the beginning. I told her she wasn't to blame, that she couldn't have known, that her feelings were human. We held each other and promised to move forward, stronger than before. After a month of treatment, the doctor had good news. The tumor had shrunk by 30%, metastases stabilized. Not a cure, but progress. We all cried with relief. But in the 6th week, there was a crisis. High fever, convulsions. She was rushed to intensive care. We waited in the corridor for hours. Anna praying, Kirill pacing, me staring into nothing. Finally, the doctor came out, exhausted but calm. "The crisis has passed," he said. "It was a reaction to the medication. She's stable now." The next day, we saw her again, pale, with tubes and IVs, but alive. She smiled weakly and said, "I just wanted to scare you a little, test your nerves." We laughed through tears. From that day, I stopped taking anything for granted. Weeks passed. Money was running out fast. Even with Mikhail Alexandrovich's help, we fell into debt. We sold the country house, took another loan, lived frugally, but we didn't care. Every ruble went to her recovery. 2.5 months later came the control MRI. We waited for results like a verdict. Finally, the doctor smiled. "The tumor's down by 70%. Some metastases are gone. The therapy's working. There's a real chance for long remission." We couldn't believe it. 70%. A miracle. He said her case was rare, one of those where the body responds exceptionally well. We ran to her room to tell her. She cried, thanked God, thanked us, thanked life itself. For the first time in months, hope felt solid. The next month flew by. Mom finished her final treatment, growing stronger by the day. Her appetite returned. Her cheeks flushed. Tiny strands of gray hair started to grow back. We prepared her apartment for her return, cleaned, aired out, bought her a new bed and medical equipment. The day before discharge, we all gathered at the clinic. Anna, pregnant and glowing, little Masha, Kirill with his girlfriend Katia and his parents, and Elena Viktorovna. Mom sat wrapped in a soft robe, smiling. Masha climbed into her lap, chattering about kindergarten. Mom listened, stroked her hair, tears of joy in her eyes. Then the door opened, and there stood Mikhail Alexandrovich. He'd come in person with a fruit basket and an envelope. He congratulated her, said her story moved him deeply. That medicine saved her body, but love saved her soul. He handed me the envelope, a bank card and a note with a pin. "There's 200,000 on it," he said. "For recovery, medication, anything she needs. A gift, not a loan. Take care of each other." I couldn't speak. This man, almost a stranger, had done more for our family than most relatives ever had. When he left, Mom whispered through tears, "There really are angels walking among us." That night, I stayed with her alone. She asked if I forgave her for hiding her illness, for making me lie, for causing so much pain. I told her there was nothing to forgive. She'd only wanted to protect us. She cried in my arms like I once had in hers. Then she said she was proud of me, that Anna was a wonderful woman, that Kirill had grown up at last, and that her grandchildren were her greatest joy. I promised her she'd see all of it. The birth of her grandson, Masha's first day of school, every holiday. She smiled and said she believed me. The next day, we brought her home with flowers and balloons. She walked slowly through her apartment, touching everything, whispering, "I'm home." That evening, we gathered for dinner, everyone together, noisy and happy. Mom raised her glass of juice and said, "You are my strength, my reason to live. I'll fight every day to stay with you as long as I can." We clinked glasses, eyes glistening. That night, when Anna and I were putting Masha to bed, our daughter said, "I'm glad Grandma's back. Now everything's okay again." We smiled. Children always know what truly matters. Later, in bed, Anna rested her head on my chest. I stroked her hair and thought about everything we'd survived. Lies, fear, loss, but also love and faith. In the darkness, she whispered that she still felt ashamed of her past accusations. I told her not to, that any wife would have done the same, that what mattered was that we made it through together. She hugged me tighter. "I love you," she said softly. "You're the strongest man I know." I kissed her and whispered, "You're perfect just as you are." A week later, there was a knock on the door. Kirill stood there, pale, trembling. He'd found out old creditors from his gambling days had tracked him down. He was terrified. They wanted 80,000 rubles, money we didn't have. I was furious. He swore he'd quit. That was an old debt that he'd forgotten. They'd given him 24 hours. Anna came out and asked quietly if we'd help. I said I didn't know, that I was tired of saving him. Kirill fell to his knees, begged, said it was the last time, that he'd die if we didn't. Anna touched my arm. "Family helps family," she said. "If we turn away now, we'll never forgive ourselves." I sighed and called Mikhail Alexandrovich again, ashamed but desperate. He listened silently, then asked, "Are you sure he's changed?" "Yes," I said. "This is just his past catching up." He agreed to transfer the money, but warned, "This is the last time. If it happens again, don't save him." The next morning, Kirill paid the debt. The danger passed. That evening, he came with Katya and a cake. She said yes. He told us, "We're getting married." Mom cried with happiness. Her dream, to see both her sons safe and loved, had come true. 3 weeks later, the final MRI confirmed it. Remission. The tumor had shrunk another 10%. Metastases stopped progressing. No more active treatment needed. Only monitoring. Mom cried in the doctor's office. He smiled and said, "You've beaten the odds. Medicine helped, but love did the rest." Outside, Summer was ending. The air smelled of flowers and warmth. Mom lifted her face to the sun and said, "I've never tasted air so sweet." We celebrated together that evening. Laughter, food, hugs. It wasn't just her victory. It was ours. All of us. Masha climbed into her grandmother's lap and asked, "You're not going to be sick anymore, right?" Mom smiled. "I'll try my best, sweetheart." When Masha told her she wanted her to come to her kindergarten play, as a little orange kitten, Mom laughed and promised she'd be there. Anna laid her hand on her round belly. "We decided to name him after you," she said. "After me?" Mom whispered, crying. That night, when everyone left, Anna hugged me from behind in the kitchen, her belly pressed against my back. She whispered, "I love you. I'm proud you're my husband." I turned, kissed her, and held her close. Under my hands, our son moved. Life goes on. Life wins.